What's good, y'all? It's Chenoa from NYC, and today we're going to talk about afropunk. As a New Yorker, afropunk is pretty much a staple at this point. Most people have heard of it, and many people have been at least one time, even if you were listening from outside the park. We're going to dive into the origin of the festival, its evolution, along with criticisms, and ponder on what the future may hold. So let's get into it.
Well, this stuff made New York City! New York City!
Afropunk is an annual arts festival and celebration of all things Black. Over the years, the festival has expanded to Atlanta in 2015, in Paris and London in 2016, and in Johannesburg in 2017. But before we talk about where we're at, let's take it back real quick. So Afropunk is actually the brainchild of James Spooner, a tattoo artist and native New Yorker. In 2003, he released his documentary Afropunk that covered the experiences of young Black people in punk and alternative scenes. Side note, the full movie is on YouTube if you're interested, so I suggest you check it out. And it's free, by the way. We love free stuff. As a young man, he fell in love with punk music and punk culture. It was a vibe for him from the jump. However, as a young biracial man, he felt marginalized from white people within the punk rock scene, as well as Black people from outside the scene. Now, me personally, when it comes to punk, I consider myself an outsider. I don't actually listen to any punk music, but when I think of punk culture, in my head, I see the word anti. Like F the system, no conformity, no corporations, just straight defiance. And in my opinion, to exist as a Black person kind of is an act of defiance. These two identities go hand in hand to me. So surely there are more people like him, people of color who are head over heels for everything punk, but with no representation and no true place for them. So all those years ago, James experienced this, he peeped game, and he said, you know what, I'm gonna take matters into my own hands. After his film was released, it was screened all over the country, gaining interest from like-minded people in the meantime. In 2005, Afropunk held its first festival for free with the help of BAM, or the Brooklyn Academy of Music. Over time, it grew to include more genres of music, including neo soul, pop, and hip hop. After a while, Afropunk was no longer executing the vision that James Spooner originally had, and by 2008, he parted ways with the festival. The fact that James stopped here makes sense. After his departure, Jocelyn Cooper and Matthew Morgan, the new leaders and co-organizers of the festival, started securing mad deals. I'm talking Nike, Toyota, Target, Pantene, all the big dogs. Now, I understand that these endorsements afforded Afropunk the ability to expand to different cities and up their venue, but like that is not very punk rock of y'all at all, like not based on what I've seen. By the early to mid 2010s, Afropunk started to get a lot of attention from a lot of mainstream sources, including CNN and The New Yorker. It's also around this time that Afropunk's main criticism started springing up. For one, the festival started to book more dope and iconic Black artists like Erykah Badu, D'Angelo, Solange, so many more, but many found issue with this because they aren't actually punk artists. I mean, we all know that, right? Afropunk also caught heat for booking Ice Cube and Tyler the Creator, two artists who, for one, are nowhere near punk artists, but more importantly, were known for their very problematic lyrics. In 2016, the festival booked MIA as a headliner for Afropunk London. Mind you, they held on to her even after she spoke out against the Black Lives Matter movement, which, side note, for a non-Black person of color who has made a career in a genre created by Black people, girl, like what are you doing? Regardless, they ended up dropping her after a bunch of pressure from the public and other artists who were also going to be performing at the event. Another major controversy came in 2018, where many found themselves questioning if Afropunk was truly open to the LGBTQ+ community. Morgan, the co-leader and core organizer, got into an argument with Erica Hart and Ebony Donnelly, a Black, queer, non-binary, and trans couple, and had them removed from the VIP section by security. The offense? Ebony pulled up on a shirt that read, Afropunk sold out for white consumption. All he was doing was challenging a system with a simple and subtle message. Sounds kind of punk to me. Now, the role that race, class, and gentrification play in Afropunk is not lost on me at all. While it continues to maintain its beauty, I do feel like the festival has evolved into something so far removed from Spooner's vision, and given its punk rock roots, I'm not so sure that's a good thing. The festival attendance has grown significantly over the years, and in turn has attracted a larger, wider audience. Increased ticket prices have seemingly kept everybody from being able to attend. Only the select few who can, afford to pay $70 or $80 for a ticket. In response to criticism about ticket prices, Matthew Morgan, once again, this is our favorite guy, Matthew Morgan said, then go to Pitchfork, go to Lollapalooza, go to Bonnaroo, go support them with your money, or stay home. In regards to gentrification, besides Manhattan, Brooklyn was the first outer borough to truly experience gentrification. And the optics and implications of such a festival taking place literally across the street from the projects is startling. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine being on like a 10th floor in your like project apartment looking out the window and seeing this festival go on that you can't be a part of? You can't get in, maybe because you can't afford it, or like you just think about that. That's very interesting. And again, I understand that in order to, expand the festival and grow the international afropunk family more, it's necessary for the co-organizers and co-leaders to get their clout up, get their money up. And you do that obviously through securing endorsements and creating relationships and partnerships with corporations. I just would have thought that afropunk's presence in the community would have been more mindful of all kinds of groups that live there, that reside there, or those who might not feel like they're even welcome, which is like shocking considering the fact that punk is already an alternative vibe and scene. I kind of associate it with people who, and again, I could be wrong, so if I'm wrong, let me know, but I kind of associate it with people who are, see themselves maybe as outcasts. We don't fit into the main thing. We do our own thing. We don't need to do what you do. And here comes something that has become kind of commercialized. When I was doing research for this video, I saw Coachella referenced quite often. And obviously both are music festivals, but they couldn't be any more different. I mean, just the name Afropunk alone is a statement. Like, that's a sentence. It's letting you know what it's all about in just 2 syllables. It's a protest, a riot, it's defiance. But with the way that it has evolved over the years, sometimes it feels more performative and not so much punk. And in my opinion, that's the most frustrating part of it all. I can't help but think of how, those who once sought refuge in this festival now feel. Like, I kind of assume that they feel as alienated as James Spooner did when he created the film in the first place, when he created this community in the first place. Where do they go now? And it's a shame because it's like, well, damn, if you can't go to Afropunk, then where the hell could you go, No, but like for real, like don't get me wrong, Afropunk is still a wonderful place to go. The art, the melanin, the people, the black people, the culture, it's gorgeous, it's inspiring, the beauty, the joy, the liberation. Don't get me wrong, this is not a hate video, it's just an observation. So many people, I assume, have felt constrained by society, and perhaps, when they step on the grounds of Commodore Barry Park in late August every year, they feel a bit freer, they feel a bit bolder, more comfortable in their skin. And I love that. I felt that way myself. I've been to Afropunk and I found myself in awe, inquisitive, inspired. Seeing others be their authentic selves despite the direction of the festival, like apart from that, it's special, it's beautiful. And I can't take anything away from that. In the future, me personally, I would love to see Afropunk return to its punk roots in some capacity, at least by incorporating more punk artists on their yearly rosters. Now again, I don't listen to punk per se, but after doing research for this video, I kind of realized that like my values align a lot with the values and culture of punk, and I'm like, why did I never get into this? Of the few punk groups that I've come across who are new, I would love to see them be featured at Afropunk. One such group is Meet Me at the Altar, which found itself on my radar late last year. I think this kind of venue will be freaking awesome for them, honestly. Personally, I don't really mind the international expansion. I would love to kind of experience Afropunk in other cities, because when we do that, now we're talking like the Black diaspora, and that to me is just straight beautiful. The inclusion of neo soul and pop and hip hop, honestly, I'm not super against it. I know it's not punk, but at least with neo soul, that's not really mainstream either. It's not really in the forefront all the time, so I'm not against it. But again, I do think it should be like punk leaning. When I started off this video, I kind of was curious as to like what the future of Afropunk holds. Will it ever die down? No, I really doubt that, and I don't want it to die down at all. I just want it to be, it can be so much stronger, especially in this day and age where the way that we interact with each other, the way that we talk about our blackness is evolving and changing, and people are pushing boundaries and saying, actually, why have boundaries? Screw that, let's think outside the box, let's live outside the box. I think it's time to kind of revert a little bit. I believe that this year Afropunk will be virtual just like it was last year because of the pandemic, but for next year and years moving forward, I hope that the tides start to change a little bit, and that's all I'm gonna say. If you've listened this long, I thank you for hanging out with me. I'm very curious to hear what you think. Have you ever been to Afropunk in New York or any of the other cities? What was your experience? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What have you heard? Do you disagree with what I'm saying? I want to know. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time.
I say bye to the people.
Bye to the people.